There is a power that needs no words, a strength that requires no announcement, a presence that commands respect without demanding it. Throughout history, the most formidable individuals were not those who shouted the loudest, but those who mastered the art of silent strength. Marcus Aurelius understood this deeply when he wrote in his Meditations that the best revenge is not to be like your enemy. The Stoics knew that true power lies not in reaction, but in response, not in emotion, but in control, not in proving yourself, but in being yourself so completely that others have no choice but to take notice. When you embody these silent habits, something profound happens. Those who wish you harm begin to feel uncomfortable in your presence. They sense something they cannot quite name, cannot quite challenge, cannot quite break. It is the unshakable foundation of a person who has learned to govern themselves so completely that they become ungovernable by others. This is not about intimidation or aggression. This is about the quiet confidence that comes from knowing exactly who you are and exactly what you stand for. The first habit that strikes fear into the hearts of your adversaries is your ability to remain completely calm under attack. When someone launches verbal assaults, personal insults, or attempts to provoke you, you respond with the stillness of deep water. Marcus Aurelius taught that we suffer more in imagination than reality, and your enemies know this. They expect reaction. They feed on emotion. They count on your anger to fuel their fire. But when you meet their chaos with composure, when you respond to their heat with coolness, you rob them of their power. Your calm becomes a mirror that reflects their own lack of control back to them. They see their frantic energy bouncing off your steady presence, and suddenly they realize they are fighting a battle they cannot win. There is nothing more unsettling to an aggressor than someone who refuses to be disturbed by their disturbance. Your second source of quiet power lies in your willingness to walk away without explanation. Seneca wrote that every new thing excites the mind, but a mind that is at peace needs no excitement from conflict. When others try to draw you into petty arguments, meaningless drama, or toxic exchanges, you simply remove yourself from the equation. You do not justify your departure. You do not explain your boundaries. You do not defend your decision to disengage. This silence speaks volumes. It tells your enemies that their opinion of you is not your emergency. Their need for confrontation is not your responsibility. Their desire for drama is not your concern. When you can walk away without looking back, without explanation, without apology, you demonstrate a level of self-respect that intimidates those who have none for themselves. The third habit that unnerves your adversaries is keeping your emotions completely private. Epictetus taught us that we are actors in a play, and our job is to play our role well, regardless of whether the play is short or long, tragic or comic. Your enemies study you for weaknesses. They watch for cracks in your armor. They wait for moments when your guard is down so they can exploit your vulnerabilities. But when you master emotional privacy, when you keep your inner world sacred and protected, you become unpredictable and therefore dangerous to their schemes. They cannot manipulate what they cannot access. They cannot use against you what you do not reveal. Your emotional intelligence becomes a fortress they cannot breach, and their inability to read you fills them with the uncertainty that breeds fear. Your fourth silent strength is the habit of observing far more than you speak. Marcus Aurelius spent years watching human nature, studying the patterns of behavior, understanding the motivations that drive people to act as they do. When you adopt this practice, when you become a student of character rather than a participant in chatter, You gain insights that others miss. Your enemies reveal themselves through their words and actions while you remain a mystery. They expose their strategies while you keep yours hidden. They show their hand while you keep your cards close. This asymmetry of information gives you tremendous advantage. They fear your observations because they sense you see through their masks, understand their games, and remain unimpressed by their performances. The fifth habit that creates fear in those who oppose you is allowing your success to speak for itself. There is no need for boasting when your achievements are evident. There is no need for self-promotion when your results are undeniable. Seneca reminded us that every new thing excites the mind, but lasting impact comes from consistent excellence, not constant explanation. When you let your work, your character, your choices demonstrate your worth, you become immune to the petty criticisms and jealous attacks of lesser minds. Your enemies cannot diminish what you do not defend. They cannot argue with results they cannot replicate. Your quiet competence becomes a reproach to their loud incompetence, and their inability to match your substance while you remain unboastful creates a deep sense of inadequacy in them. Your sixth source of silent power lies in your complete unpredictability. Marcus Aurelius wrote about the importance of acting with reason rather than impulse. But this does not mean becoming predictable. When your enemies cannot anticipate your next move, when they cannot manipulate you through established patterns, when they realize you operate from principles they do not understand, they become deeply uncomfortable. You do not react the way they expect. You do not respond to their provocations according to their script. You move through the world guided by your own compass, not their expectations. This unpredictability is not chaos. It is the freedom that comes from living according to your own values, rather than other people's assumptions about who you should be. The seventh habit that strikes fear into hostile hearts is your absolute self-control in the face of provocation. Epictetus taught that no one can hurt you without your permission, and this truth becomes your armor. When others attempt to push your buttons, you demonstrate that your buttons are not available for pushing. When they try to make you angry, you show them that anger is a choice you do not choose. When they attempt to make you defensive, you prove that your worth is not up for debate. This level of self-mastery is profoundly threatening to people who have never learned to control themselves. Your discipline becomes a mirror that reflects their lack of discipline. Your self-control highlights their self-indulgence. Your mastery over your own responses makes their inability to master themselves painfully obvious. The eighth silent strength that your enemies fear is your complete lack of interest in revenge. Marcus Aurelius wrote that the best revenge is not to be like your enemy, and this wisdom becomes your liberation. When someone wrongs you, your natural response is not retaliation, but indifference. You do not plot their downfall. You do not scheme their destruction. You do not waste energy on evening scores. Instead, you focus that energy on building something better. This absence of vengeful spirit is deeply unsettling to those who expect you to sink to their level. They cannot understand someone who refuses to play their game. They cannot comprehend a person who responds to darkness, not with more darkness, but with light. Your refusal to seek revenge robs them of the satisfaction they seek and the drama they crave. The ninth and most powerful habit that makes your enemies fear you is the quiet dignity with which you maintain your boundaries. You do not explain them. You do not defend them. You do not negotiate them. You simply enforce them with the calm certainty of someone who knows their own worth. Seneca taught that we teach people how to treat us, and your consistent maintenance of standards teaches everyone around you that you are not available for disrespect, manipulation, or abuse. This quiet self-respect is magnetic to those who share your values and terrifying to those who would exploit your kindness. Your boundaries become walls they cannot climb, doors they cannot open, fortresses they cannot breach. True power has never needed an announcement. Real strength has never required proof. Genuine confidence has never demanded recognition. The Stoics understood that the most formidable person in any room is often the quietest one, not because they have nothing to say, but because they have nothing to prove. When you embody these 9 silent habits, you become someone who cannot be shaken, cannot be broken, cannot be bought, and cannot be controlled. Your enemies fear you not because you threaten them, but because you represent everything they are not. Your presence reminds them of their own weaknesses. Your strength highlights their own fragility. Your peace exposes their own chaos. Remember this: fear is often respect wearing a mask. When people fear your quiet strength, they are really acknowledging your power. The strongest among us speak the least because they understand that true authority whispers while pretending authority shouts. In your silence, you find your strength. In your calm, you discover your power. In your discipline, you uncover your freedom. This is the way of the Stoic. This is the path of the wise. This is the power that needs no words. Oh.